Okay, good evening everyone. I think I'm audible, right? So today we'll be discussing the GS2 IR part of the syllabus. I think there were 4 questions in total. So how many of you felt the IR questions were in the general trend or they brought any changes? IR has been always general, they've asked more on the current affairs part of it. Raghu? GS2 IR part of the syllabus. I think there were 4 questions in total. So how many of you felt so let's go one by one question. So we had the question number 8 which said that India has been an age-old friend to Sri Lanka. In light of this statement, you have to discuss India's role in the recent crisis. So in any question, especially in mains exam, the keywords in the questions are important. So they are giving you a context. What is the context? India and Sri Lanka have been age-old friends. So from before they have been friends. But now recently there is a crisis which has happened in Sri Lanka. In light of this, they are asking you to discuss what can be or what is India's role. And you also have to remember this is how many marks question? It's just a 10 marker question and you have to write the answer in 150 words. Now this is where the challenge lies, is that you might have excess of information, but how do you put that information within the given context? So you have to be able to know what exactly has to be written. So here don't go too much into the aspect of writing the age-old friendship between India and Sri Lanka, because you have to write within 150 words. There is no point of writing, you can start from Ramayana in that regard. It is not required. Just you try to write Sri Lanka has been an important partner to India because of its strategic location in the middle of the Indian Ocean, and we can see that India has aided Sri Lanka even before. For example, Operation Pavan, you can speak about. Then quickly come into the point, briefly write about what is the recent crisis, the economic crisis. You can give certain facts that Sri Lanka is facing balance of payment crisis, their organic farming led them to this crisis. Then write a subheading saying that India's role. Here the question is not about what India has done, you can also write about what India can do, because the question is not what is India's role, the question is what? Discuss India's role. So one you can write that Sri Lanka is an important friend for India, so it becomes very crucial for India to help Sri Lanka in the time of needs. So in this regard, what you can write, what India has done few things. One, they have given $2 billion as part of their currency swap agreement. Second, they have extended credit facility for food supply. Third, they have also, Tamil Nadu government in that regard, it sent a consignment of rice to help Sri Lanka to tide over the food crisis. And fourth one, you can also recommend what India can do, put a moratorium on the debt, okay, because Sri Lanka owes India certain debt, so you can give them time, saying that you don't need to repay back now, you can repay back at a later date. The other thing is that India can also offer long repayment loans, because currently Sri Lanka is looking to take loans from IMF, which comes at a cost, so India can offer this. And finally conclude in your answer saying that this crisis is both a challenge and opportunity for India. Why it's an opportunity for India? This is an opportunity for our neighborhood first policy, where we have told in the policy that we are going to give importance to our neighboring countries. Now this role what we play determines India to emerge as a regional power. So you can bring these points in that regard, and you have to tell Sri Lanka is a very important partner, you cannot ignore in that regard, especially in the time of crisis. But if you try to add too many facts regarding why the crisis happened, that is not the demand of the question. Don't go into the writing why the crisis has happened. The question they are telling, you have to discuss India's role. Discuss means what? What is India's role? Why India is playing a role? Third one, what can be India's role? So for this there is no need for any material in that regard. There is no need for any specific books. So that's why I said for IR there is no specific book. Many articles had come in Indian Express There were many articles also given in certain websites such as IDSA. But again, if you broadly read, if you had read newspaper regularly, you will be able to answer. But in mains, the challenging task will be always not information. Everybody are going to have information. The challenge is going to how do you structure the answer given the time factor. I think for 10 marker question, you have to write the answer within 7 minutes. So this could be your what we can say, the structure and the information. Information can vary. You can add 1 or 2 extra points which you can replace with what we have told. But in general, this should be the demand of the answer in this question. So you try to link the keywords. The keywords is neighborhood first policy, or you can also add a keyword of what Atal Bihari Vajpayee had sent way back, that you can choose your friends but not your neighbors in that regard. So this can be also, but again it depends upon where you will fit in. So not only having quotes is important, you also have to have the ability to know which quote has to be used where. Fine. So moving on to the next question. This question has 3 parts to it. Okay. So this is regarding BIMSTEC. Now first of all, why they have asked a question on BIMSTEC? One is 25-year completion, the other is that for the first time BIMSTEC developed a charter in that regard. At the same time, you can see an issue is happening where SAARC is losing relevance in that regard. So they have asked a question, in comparing BIMSTEC and SAARC. First we will locate what are the 3 areas the question has been asked, and this is a challenge because there are 3 demand, but you have to try to address all the 3 demand within 150 words. So here it is not necessary, you can go on writing. Try to locate what is the 3 demands. What is the first demand in the question? They are asking your opinion that do you think the BIMSTEC is what is an parallel to SAARC. So coming to this part, what do you mean by the word parallel? It's not only same. For example, you can take, when you read Indian polity, you have this ordinance making power of the president. We say ordinance making power of the president is not parallel to the parliament. Means they are telling is that now it exists hand in hand. So either president can make the law at any time, and here the parliament can also make any time. So is BIMSTEC a parallel to SAARC? Means does BIMSTEC can replace SAARC as a parallel organization? This actually had appeared in this Rajya Sabha TV debate. There is one debate on BIMSTEC and SAARC. There most of the panelists, they gave an opinion that BIMSTEC cannot be a parallel to SAARC, BIMSTEC can be supplementary to SAARC. BIMSTEC cannot completely do all the functions what SAARC can do. And that is the logical connection to your second part of the answer, that what are the similarities and dissimilarities between BIMSTEC and SAARC. What is the similarities between SAARC and BIMSTEC in general? No, both are not regional. There is a difference. SAARC is a regional, BIMSTEC is an inter-regional organization. SAARC is only for South Asia, BIMSTEC connects 2 regions, Southeast Asia and South Asia. But the similarities here is that both focus on geo-economics rather than geopolitics, the main goal, because you can see even in SAARC, strategic issues or political issues are kept outside SAARC charter. The second similarity you can also see is that both of the organization has developing countries within it. It is completely, both are comprising of developing countries. Here you have 8 countries, that is India, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, Nepal, Bhutan, Afghanistan, Sri Lanka. There you have, except Pakistan and Afghanistan, you have Southeast Asian countries in that regard. All are similar in economic nature. Third, both of the organization have certain similarities. Now both have a charter. Recently BIMSTEC developed a charter, SAARC has a charter. But however, there are certain differences. One I told, one it is a regional organization, this is an inter-regional organization. The second difference is that the number of membership, there you have membership comprising of Southeast Asian countries, here the membership only comprise of South Asian members, and 2 members are not included, that is Pakistan and Afghanistan. The third difference is that SAARC origin, it is a pre-Cold War origin, it was created in 1985. BIMSTEC origin is more later, it was created I think in 1997, it is a post-World War creation in that regard. And the ambit in SAARC is more wider in that regard. BIMSTEC, the charter is more specific and narrow, it speaks about education, health, blue water economy. But nevertheless, then you can write in your answer that both the organizations are playing a very important platform for India in that regard. Now coming to the third aspect of the question, how can BIMSTEC help India to achieve its foreign policy objectives? So what are the foreign policy objectives which India can achieve through BIMSTEC? One, you can say that BIMSTEC will be very crucial for India's success of Look East, Act East policy. Because today one of the objective of Indian foreign policy is not just political angle, to bring economic development of India in that regard. Second aspect of BIMSTEC can also help India strategically in containment of China. Now how it can help you in containment of China? Unlike SAARC, which has Pakistan in it, this grouping is completely comprised of members who are not as so much as close to China compared to that. There are many countries, Southeast Asian countries, which have also differences with China in that regard. So India can use this as a platform to build that consensus to stop the expansion of China, because China is looking to convert Indian Ocean into Chinese lake. So BIMSTEC can be one of the platform where India can take or extend its level to China. The third important objective of BIMSTEC is that in Indo-Pacific, because India wants to emerge as a net security provider in that regard. So we have other organizations such as what? Indian Ocean Association of Digital. This will complement those organizations to India to develop as a net security provider, because South Asia and Southeast Asia currently today it is suffering from challenges of China declaring 9-dash line and objecting to what we can say the open sea lane of communication. And finally you can also say that BIMSTEC will play a crucial role with respect to connectivity. Because one problem both South Asia and Southeast Asia suffer is connectivity projects, this Kaladan multimodal projects, etc. So BIMSTEC can play a crucial role. But you have to write in the conclusion part is that there are certain problems in BIMSTEC which is similar to SAARC. For example, in SAARC, the bilateral inter-regional trade is 5%, but is not so great in BIMSTEC. It is also same, it is 6%. Frequent SAARC summits are not held because of political reason. In BIMSTEC reason, there might not be political disturbance, but again, in last 10 years, only 3 summits have been held at large. So finally, you can conclude that BIMSTEC can be an organization for India to bring this inter-regional connectivity, and it can supplement SAARC, but definitely cannot replace SAARC. So in a conclusion, you can write your opinion. But again, I have told many points, you cannot include so many points in your answer because of the word limit and the space limit. But these are the things which you can write. But see, again practically think, what is crucial in mains is that you need to have a knack of predicting the questions, or you need to have a knack that current affairs is happening, because BIMSTEC charter was there, as you told, 25 years of BIMSTEC happened. Many, if you have read many articles in newspaper, or even if you have watched this Rajya Sabha TV or something, which one? Sunset TV, there was a debate on the role of SAARC and BIMSTEC, and many times this does not require in-depth reading, it just requires outward analysis, or you have to know what areas the question can come. Then what will happen is that now in exam there is not much effort from your time to think, because you have already thought about it. But in examination, if you go and start thinking there, okay, how is SAARC different, how is this thing, points won't come. When points won't come, you will take more time to write the answer. If you take more time to answer, you have to compromise on the quality of other answers. So mains is not only about writing speed, it is also about thinking speed. And for mains you have to do a lot of thinking beforehand. And see the IR questions what they have asked. They have not asked anything which is old or etc. Everything has been in use from past 1 year. Or in general, if you take a GS2 paper itself, most of the questions are current affairs oriented. The French president election happened, the Indian president election happened. They have asked a question, compare and contrast the French president election with the Indian president election. Few questions, yeah, few questions might be static, but most of them are current affairs oriented. The same like the third question, that is I2U2, which is there. That is also again a current affairs based question. You could have guessed it that this is one area where they can ask. Now what is the demand of the question they have asked? They have told in what ways I2U2, that is India, Israel, USA, UAE, which is also called as what? The West Asian Quad, or the Americans call it as Middle East Quad. How this can transform India's position with regards to geopolitics. So here the two crucial words is I2, U2, how this can transform India's geopolitical interest. What do you mean by geopolitics? What do you mean by geopolitics? There is two keywords, right? Geography and politics, geopolitics. For example, currently Russia-Ukraine crisis happened, it is related to geopolitics. Iran-US issue is happening, it is related to geopolitics. Indo-Pacific is happening, it is a concept based on geopolitics, the political importance of a particular area. So they are asking, how does I2U2 help India to transform its position geopolitics? So first you have to tell what are the challenges which India faces geopolitically. One, in West Asia itself, what is the challenge? West Asia is a very volatile region. It has a lot of issues, competition between Israel and Palestine on one hand. Then you have competition between Israel and the Gulf Cooperation Council on the other hand. Then you have competition between GCC versus Iran on the other hand. Now, how the formation of I2U2 will help India geopolitically? One, you can say West Asia is very important for India with regards to energy security, diaspora, food security, as well as tackling terrorism in that regard. So in this regard, it is very crucial for India to build a coalition which is there to tackle the problems, and I2U2 is crucial. Why? Because in I2U2 you have both Israel and UAE on one hand. To a certain extent you can bring collaboration, or the relationship is improving between the Gulf countries and Israel, which will benefit India in a way to tackle the problem of terrorism in this region. Second issue is that geopolitically for India to become powerful, what are the two important components? One is energy security, the other is our defense. So you have UAE within this, which has the capacity to ensure India's energy security, because UAE is one of the principal players within the Gulf countries. Israel is one of the principal defense exporters to India along with United States of America. The third aspect also you can bring is that India has brought the policy of dehyphenation. We have dehyphenated the relations between Israel and Palestine. Now this development of I2U2 further will enable India to balance the relation between Israel and Palestine. Why? Now since Israel's relations with Gulf countries is improving, no longer the Gulf countries are so adamant about this two-state solution or India's recent dehyphenating. But you can also add a point that it's not, because they are asking discuss means only you cannot tell how, you also have to tell what are the challenges in I2. There is one major challenge in I2U2 is that if either Israel or UAE try to use the platform of I2U2 to run their anti-Iran agenda, that will be a problem for India. Because among all the three countries, US, Israel, UAE, all of them have problems with Iran. India is the only one country which wants to balance relations with Iran. So that is going to be problematic for India with this I2U2 association in that regard. But nevertheless you can write I2U2 is a very positive development. It will, because it is part of one more thing which has happened is Abraham Accord. Along with this, it will ease India's ability to balance the multiple powers within West Asia and so. And you can also see, because anything in West Asia is important for India, connectivity to Central Asia, connectivity to Afghanistan in that regard. So in this way I2U2 is a positive transformation for India for its geopolitical goals. So that's why I said IR is not so difficult. It's only the thing is that you have to read editorial pages where you will get such analysis and try to identify the keywords in the question paper which has been given. The last question is a tricky one, not in the sense, the tricky one in the sense you need to get a proper idea of what is the equation. Now what they have told, the clean energy is the current order of the day. In this light of this statement, you have to analyze or you have to explain the changing Indian policy towards clean energy. So what is exactly the demand of the question they are trying to ask? Because you have certain keywords saying that clean energy is the order of the day. So what do you mean by that? Clean energy is the order of the day. So you can say one, in present geopolitics or can see collaboration or negotiation between countries, renewable energy or green energy is becoming very important, especially with climate change which is happening. In light of this, what they are saying is that you need to explain that how India's position or how India's policy is changing. If you want to tell how the position is changing, first you have to tell what was India's position. Historically, India has always argued for common but differentiated responsibilities. India has always asked that it needs greater time to shift from what you can say, the non-renewable sources to renewable sources. India was reluctant to give any commitments in the global climate change negotiation. But now, with clean energy being the norm, India is trying to shift its position, where you can give one example is of Conference of Parties 26, I think it was in Glasgow, right? That is when Prime Minister Modi gave a commitment, India committed itself saying that it is going to bring net zero or it is going to reach net zero by which year? 2070. Second one, we can also see India is trying to use the clean energy to build itself as one of the leaders in clean energy, because they formed International Solar Alliance along with France in that regard, trying to build a consensus between developed and developing countries towards clean energy in that regard. Third, you can also say that currently India is also tying up with many multinational companies such as Tesla to promote the renewable, electric vehicles boom in India. And especially we can see that Indian foreign policy today is stressing more on green energy and green battery production. So India has signed many agreements with many countries to transfer the technology with respect to the green batteries, what you can say. And fourth one, since this Russia-Ukraine crisis is happening, the Iran Chabar port India lost, this in a way has created problem for India's energy security. Now you can see there is a shift in our foreign policy. Why? Today the Indian government is giving more emphasis to renewable source of energy. How? We have signed agreements with United States of America to import biodiesel in that regard. We have signed many agreements with other countries, not just to import oil, joint production of ethanol production. So all these factors reflect that today India is moving towards to claim an important position or to be a leader with respect to the clean energy development or clean energy negotiation. Prior to this, India was seen as an obstructionist state. Okay, the Western world saw India as an obstructionist. They told India is only a game spoiler. For example, India had objected to certain agreements saying that we are not ready to commit. They wanted developed countries to bring CBDR. But today India has taken up leadership role, and where they also under Paris Climate Change Agreement, you can read, we have intended nationally determined contribution, under which we have agreed to reduce our by 2030, 50% of our electricity will be given by renewable sources. So the key part of the question here, you have to show how the Indian position has changed, especially with clean energy becoming the part of global negotiations. The thing is that it's very easy always to analyze outside the examination hall, okay, because you will have time, etc. But within the examination hall, that is where you have to train yourself to within those 7 minutes, 8 minutes, you have to be able to address the demand and write an answer. It's not that always you can write a perfect answer, it's fine. But if you are addressing the demand of the question, that is where most of your marks will be fetched. But if you don't address the demand of the question, if you fill your answer only with information, then you cannot expect more marks in the exam. So IR continues to remain the same. IR is usually current affairs oriented. So if you're regularly reading newspaper or following current affairs magazine, that is more for IR preparation. You don't need any books in that regard. You don't need to read Pax Indica, or you don't need to read this Pavnit Singh IR book. They do not help so much. If you need some background of IR, if you feel you are weak in IR background, one, I think it will be covered in your classes itself, or try to watch some online videos in that regard. They give a summary of what has happened in last 50 to 60 years, but give more stress on the current issues, and try to see what is the trend they are asking. In last year also, if you see the paper, they mainly asked about this squad which was formed. So they are asking about, because there is a part in syllabus, right, India's membership to regional organization, etc. So if BIMSTEC charter was formed, question came. India was part of I2U2, question came. Third question is what is that, Sri Lankan crisis, which is the India and neighborhood. So for IR, just read newspaper regularly in that regard, and you also get some important articles on IDSA, which is that you can refer that for general studies. And finally, you try to solve a lot of question paper and think what question can, don't blindly just read, think what question can come, look at the syllabus copy, see what is the possible questions which can come in this regard, and go accordingly. So any specific doubts in these areas? Since only 4 questions what we had to discuss part of IR. Any specific doubts what you have? So how many of you felt GS2 was manageable compared to last time? Others? How many of you wrote means? Only 1%. So anyway, next time there is no, you can try again. But again, as I said, keep practicing, okay, keep regularly writing. So if you only write, that's what I told, writing practice is that you have to write within the given time limit. If you give 1 hour, anybody can do research and write, but again the challenge will be always to write the answer within 7 minutes. Writing will only work when you have already done your thinking. So if you go there and tell I am going to think and write, that's not going to happen. You should have thought about all this while preparing itself. So don't blindly prepare, don't just blindly prepare SAARC, BIMSTEC. What many people will do is that, like for international organization, they keep reading notes, okay, like what is ICJ, what is ICC, etc. That is basic. If you have read for prelims, that's fine. For mains, don't do like that. Mains, see what is the area the question can come. So if you read about BIMSTEC and SAARC, there is no point of you just reading when BIMSTEC was formed, what is there in, so much information is not useful. Check, okay, how does BIMSTEC help India? What are the challenges within BIMSTEC? Okay, how does SAARC help India? What is the problems in SAARC? Right, there are many problems in SAARC. There is political problems, there is economic problems, there is connectivity problems, trust deficit, there is a problem of security dilemma. What do you mean by security dilemma? You have to use keywords in IR answers. That each country will see other country as a threat to its security. And there is this image of India being a big brother in that regard, a dominating country within its neighborhood. Then you also think about, okay, fine, what measures India can take or what they have taken till now. Neighborhood first policy, Gujarat doctrine in that regard. And you can see India has given unilateral concessions to neighboring countries. Operation Neer in Maldives. Operation, what is that, for Nepal, earthquake, they did not, forgot the name of the operation. So try to build certain notes in that way, then try to go to the exam. So there you will be able to answer the question. But if you just try to read and go, what is UN, when UN was formed, what are the organs, such questions won't come. If they ask, they are going to ask what about UN. They'll ask, is India's claim to UN membership justified? Critically analyze. Or they can tell, UN has been in last 70 years. Does UN need a change, or does UN needs to reform? You have to know what are the areas of reform, what needs to be reformed, why UN is not being reformed. Again, if they ask about IMF and World Bank, in mains they won't ask about where is the headquarters of IMF, etc. They can ask, differentiate and compare the role of IMF and World Bank. Or they can ask, the IMF is always seen as a bank of the Western countries, critically analyze. So try to go through previous year questions, that will give an idea to prepare. And just keep yourself to reading articles, editorial pages, or if you want, read any monthly magazine to get certain information, but write more number of questions. And try to write questions which have appeared in the last few years. Practice a lot of previous year questions. I think that will be enough for IR. Okay. So any other doubt before we wind up this session? Because I think now art and culture will start in some time. Okay, if there is no other doubt, we will end this session here. Yeah.
When it comes to Sri Lanka crisis, can we add the point that other than government responsibilities, we can improve people to people connection of Sri Lanka and India, like we will
Yeah, you can write, but you have to be specific in saying that how people to people contact will help Sri Lanka in crisis.
And it can improve India's security also, like
Hmm.
people to people connection, still has possibility of coming.
Yeah, you can, definitely you can use that as one of the, recommending that what India should deal with Sri Lanka, that you can write. Anything else? Okay, well then I hope, I wish everybody, those who have written, all the best for interview, and those who have not written, all the best for writing mains next time. I hope more number of people write, and it's good even if insights gets result. Okay then, fine, thank you.